What's up? This is Jack McNeil, or LB Talk 123 here. Hope you guys are having a great night and enjoying the winter meetings. I'm having a lot of fun constantly on my phone, constantly on Twitter. And if you are on Twitter, definitely follow me at MLB Talk 123 for the latest updates. Now, tomorrow, I want to say before we get into the topic here, there's going to be a podcast, live podcast, 11 p.m. Eastern. If that's too late for you, then you can watch it on demand. But we're going to have a very special guest, Red Soxaholics. Over 100,000 followers on Twitter, a blogger on the Red Sox. We're going to talk to him, and a very big blogger on the Yankees as well. So we're going to get some Yankees Red Sox point of views and looking at the deals recently made by the Red Sox. One of them is this right here. Shane Victorino signs with the Red Sox. After this deal was done, a few executives literally thought it was a joke. And I think it's not that much of an overpay, but I think you can see some aspects of it where it's just like, how is someone getting paid this much money for his numbers last year? How did this play out? So let's look at how it happened. First of all, Shane Victorino before this year was offered a 3-year, $30 million contract by the Philadelphia Phillies. He's never really been on the open market. This is a guy who's been locked up multiple times by the Phillies, and eventually the Phillies were done. They were going separate ways. The Phillies were even linked to Justin Upton today. A rumor proved to be completely false. And I thought it, just kind of seemed unrealistic from the start. The Diamondbacks were looking for shortstop help, and I don't see why the Diamondbacks would even want someone who's going to cost that much money in Cliff Lee at this point. They have good young starting pitching. There's no need for that. There's no need at all, especially when you have the Dodgers spending all the money in the world. They need to be built competitively through the system and through smart trades, not ones that would end up having Cliff Lee. But a team that could be involved in Cliff Lee is the Boston Red Sox. I would say are the Boston Red Sox. They're a team that have him at the top of their wish list, that maybe didn't think he would be available, but now he could potentially be available to the Phillies. So getting back to the Phillies, they offer him this contract. He plays this year, is traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers, of course. And overall, he hits .255 this year. Now, where it went wrong, his walk rate, his strikeout rate was about the same as years past. He did steal a lot of bases, 39. That's about what it has been. So that's one good thing. Boston Red Sox getting speed. They're getting the defense that they need. Not only are they getting someone to play in right field in the kind of uncomfortable right field area in Fenway Park, but they're also getting someone who has experience in center field. If Jacoby Ellsbury is hurt, he can switch to center. You have Johnny Gomes. He can platoon in different areas. He can provide some power, and of course will be the left fielder for the Red Sox at the time being. Now, they do have some good young players coming up. You have Ryan Kellis, you have Jackie Bradley Jr., you have definitely some young talent going through the system, and I think it would be very dumb for them to trade any of those guys right now. They already traded Josh Reddick for a reliever that has not really pitched much for them at all. Hopefully he can have a bounce back here, because that could just be one of those horrendous trades that ends up being like the Red Sox could have not only saved a lot of money, had better numbers probably with Josh Reddick in right field than Shane Victorino will. I mean, Josh Reddick, yeah, low average, a lot of power, but Shane Victorino had a .255 average last year. Now, do I think he will have that average again? No. I think he will find it. I really do. I think that he will improve his numbers. He'll probably be a .280, maybe get to 300. Maybe once in the contract get to 300. The thing about Shane Victorino is he is aging. Now, this guy's in good shape. He's a Flyin Hawaiian. He's got the speed. Well, there were definite flaws within his swing and within his batting routines. And, I mean, you look at the average on balls in play, much lower than career average. It was like at 278, normally at like almost 300. He kind of batted the ball a lot. He also hit a lot of flyouts. His defense is very good. Again, his speed is very good. I'm not going to bag on the player. He's a very good player. But I would not say that he is worth, $13 million a year. It is a very big overpay. It really is. You look at what he's provided WAR-wise, and maybe you can add a little bit to the whole idea of team chemistry and clubhouse and getting that toxic environment out of Boston and really changing the atmosphere and the way that media potentially looks at Boston Red Sox as a team and how the fans look at the team and how the team performs with the team. And I think that's the biggest thing is you can put together an all-star team like they have in the past, but it just hasn't worked. And I think the Red Sox are looking at this and saying, you know what, we've gotten a new start. How are we going to approach this? And you know what, they decided to go with these veteran, older guys that have been in winning atmospheres. You have Johnny Gomes with the Rays in '08. You have Shane Victorino with the Phillies multiple times. And he really does seem like a great guy, a genuine great guy that I think any team would love to have in the clubhouse. This guy was considered to go to the Dodgers as a fourth outfielder. He would be a starter for pretty much every team. Of course, the Dodgers, if they really want to spend the money, they could get him. But Shane Victorino wants a starting job, and I think he found a great situation in Boston. but it could turn very bad if he does not perform. This is a guy who can slide into a lot of parts in the lineup. This is a big contract for Shane Victorino. I don't know how much the Indians were going at, but it seems like a 3-year, maybe $33 million deal would have been realistic for the Indians. Still a ton of money even for the Indians. I mean, even for the Red Sox is a ton of money. It would be a ridiculous amount of money for the Indians. So I'm not surprised the Red Sox beat out the Indians. I think the Indians might have wanted him a little more. I think the Red Sox could have gone into numerous, so many different ways with Cody Ross, a much cheaper option that I think might have performed better. I think a lot of fans will miss Cody Ross because he really came in to Boston with not many high expectations, and he performed at a level that we just haven't seen. We had him come on breakout in the playoffs, and he had a great time in Boston, and we wish him the best there. But I think this deal was a pretty big overpay. We've seen that with outfielders. We've seen how the market's developed. Most teams know that Josh Hamilton is going to the Rangers, and we won't see a huge change in the market until that deal is done. But I think a lot of teams are turning to alternatives. I really do. I think you see Shane Victorino now off the market. You see Michael Bourne gaining some interest from teams like the Mariners. I'm not a Mariners fan. I hope the Mariners do not go down the path of a Michael Bourne. To me, it's going down the path of a Sean Figgins. I don't think he's going to be that bad, but I think the overpay is just waiting to happen for a guy like Michael Bourne, especially after Victor. So while the Red Sox now have Shane Victorino at right field, can switch over to center, still could trade Jacoby Ellsbury for a top-of-the-line starting pitcher, potentially in a James Shields deal. There's a lot of options. Maybe a Cliff Lee deal. That's kind of far-fetched. But you know what? I do kind of buy into the whole team chemistry. I think his value goes beyond just the numbers. I really do. A perfect example is the Cardinals, a team that I pay a lot of attention to. And are bidding right now for Marco Scutaro. I think it'd be a great deal for them. But going into 2011, they got guys like Ryan Theriot, Lance Berkman, and some older guys not just because they were veterans, but because they had great personalities and they had proven to really help the team chemistry of their clubs. I mean, they're just great teammates, and they really did help. The team was kind of flat after 2010, a massive collapse. You have guys like Matt Holliday, not really big sociable guys. You bring in guys like that, it changes the way the team is. And they ended up winning the World Series. Now, not just because of that, but I do think that plays a role. So the Red Sox could be much improved from these moves. So that's my kind of view on team chemistry. I do believe it can really help a team. I think that there are a lot of teams looking for cheap ads that really can just do that. Teach the young kids how to play the game right and kind of make a bridge for more competitive teams down the road. That being said, I think the Boston Red Sox can be competitive in 2013, but are going to have a tough time. With the Blue Jays, with the Rays, with the Yankees, and now with the Orioles rising in that division, the Orioles seem to be the most likely to finish last. And I think it's tough to say that because they won 90 games. But again, if you look at the numbers, it suggests they should have lost 13 more games than they did, and they're not really making any big splashes yet. They seem to be kind of going for the norms, re-signing Nate McLeod, other moves like that. We'll see what happens. But the Red Sox have made some, I wouldn't say risky moves, but the money that is involved is Red Sox type of money, and I think they're trying to get away from that. The franchise has been in the hands of Ben Cherington. I think he's done a pretty solid job. We'll really just have to see how it turns out. But not a terrible move, but definitely an overpay here. Now, here is the good news if you're a Red Sox fan. Although they might have overpaid, the fact is they do have the money to do so, and that's a terrible excuse. You should not make a deal just because you have the money to do so. You need to pay market value for that player. You really should believe in that player. And I think if you look at the money that they did, they probably could have signed Josh Hamilton at a very high average salary for a few years. I don't know if Hamilton would have accepted that deal, and maybe he said, no, I'm not interested in going to Boston for 3 or 4 years. I'd rather stay in a comfortable place because it does look like he's going to the Rangers, and then they decide to go get Mike Napoli, former Ranger, and Shane Victorino now, but they had a lot of other options. But it's not over yet. I think the Red Sox are not done in the winter meetings. There's a few 5-year contract offers out to Anibal Sanchez. I think the Red Sox are probably one of those teams. So there's still a chance there. I think they'll probably sign Ryan Dempster or veteran starting pitcher like that. I thought they should have gone after Dan Hare, in my personal opinion. But they're going for starting pitching now. They focus on offense. They could still add another outfield bat. That is what is so intriguing, though, as well. Now, other than possible trades for the Red Sox for another outfield bat or signing maybe some minor outfield bat, however they decide to go, the Red Sox are not done. That's one thing that we do know. So Red Sox fans, although they have spent a lot of money this offseason, I think they're in a direction where they're planning to win for a few years, but they're not at its most competitive form. I think that this is obviously not 2013. It's not going to be the best year for the Red Sox in the next 5 years. They're going to get better every year. Now, I think for the Red Sox, a perfect fit would have been a guy like Dan Herron. I really do think that. I think on a 2-year, $24 million deal or a 3-year, $33 million deal, I think would have been very beneficial to Dan Herron and Boston. But I think Kyle Lohse is definitely a guy to watch. Boston has the money to do it. They might have already had a contract out to Anibal Sanchez. They're looking for frontline starters, so expect them to be in the trade or free agent market for pretty much all successful pitchers. So there's a lot of options. I just singled out 2 in particular. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys really did enjoy the show. I have a lot of fun doing these videos and would love as much feedback as possible if you're still watching it. Also, remember Twitter at MLB Talk 123. Love hearing from you guys. It really does make me keep doing these. And enjoy the rest of the winter meetings. Hope the best for the Red Sox and all other Major League Baseball teams. And tune in tomorrow on my podcast live on the winter meetings. Thanks.